in our community, our conversations with the businesses, we heard from a lot of them who see mental health, crises happen on the street. Obviously, they have their eye on the street a lot more than we do. So making sure that they're aware of these resources as well. So we've been sending them out, passing them out to different businesses. If you're interested in helping us do that, the QR code there, will send you to a link to sign up to help me do that. All right. Something else we've been talking a lot about is the workforce allocation study. Thank you to Alderman Martin for giving us an update on that. The department has chosen a third-party organization to conduct the workforce study, the workforce allocation study. It's called Matrix Consulting Group. They are trying to finalize what the scope of the study will cover. The city is waiting to hear from the Attorney General's office to make sure that they're in support of what the scope is requiring. That's something that the consent decree asks for the city to do. The deadline to enter that agreement is 6/18, so it looks like we're on route to meet that deadline. And as always, we as a district council are really advocating to make sure that community voice is heard in the workforce allocation study, and the questions we have around around allocation in the department gets answered, and we will make sure to provide you guys updates on all of that. Okay, also wanted to provide you guys some key updates so as many of you probably know, Chicago is under a consent decree. We have been under this consent decree since 2019. And this is our 9th report. So that monitoring team every 6 months kind of gives an update of how Chicago is doing at meeting the consent decree requirements. This is a very, very zoomed out view, but as you can see, we've welcome. Yeah, take them. We are in full compliance with 7% of the consent decree requirement compared to last reporting period, which was 6%. So clearly we made a small increase, but if we continue to increase at this amount, or at this rate, we will not. It'll take many, many, many years to get this done, which we need to ensure we move faster than that. I just wanted to highlight a couple important things. We go to the next slide. From the independent monitoring report. One of the things that they highlighted, which is something that we talked about already, is the implementation of the workforce allocation study. They really, the team that did the report really feels that this will help us meet the goals at a much quicker rate than we previously have. So we're excited that that is in the works, and that's something that we, like I said, we will keep people up to date on. There's also some other achievements that were listed in here. There's new body worn camera policy that's going to really help with transparency. There was improvements made to the search warrant policy and procedure. And also a lot of policy and thought went into making sure we're bolstering the constitutional policies that will aid constitutional policing during the DNC, which obviously is coming up. And we have been working with the police and other elected officials in the area and know that this is a top concern for people, and people are really working hard to make sure that this runs smoothly. Next slide. Some challenges. One of the things that the report highlights is that there's very little evidence that the patrol officers are using community policing principles in their daily activities. So we know that community policing is what creates strong connections between community and the police, and maintaining that connection and having that connection is really vital for safe communities. One of the parts of the consent decree does require that all officers across the department are community policing officers. That's something that I know is important to our team, and something that we hope the department continues to work on. Something else that was continued to mention throughout the entire report was that there are staffing shortages across a variety of departments that really are is hampering the progress of meeting the goals in the consent decree. One of the things that's obviously very important to us is the crisis intervention unit. And that one really highlighted, there was a 50% drop since 2011 in personnel there. And as a result, I just wanted to point out that the report shows that they're doing a really great job with what they have, but because they have so little, they're really unable to do the things that are necessary. For example, just under half of all CIT officers who have that special 40-hour training that we talked about a minute ago, have not been able to have more training in over 6 years. So really making sure that that training should be every 3 years or so is important, and because of the lack of staffing, that has not been able to be completed. Additionally, just wanted to highlight also officer mental health is also extremely important. And so they highlighted the need to make sure that we are continuing to work on suicide prevention initiatives for officers, as well as other mental health and well-being of the officers, and making sure that that is maintained and they have the services they need.
Thanks, Jenny. Before I go on to the nominating committee, I just want to recognize a couple of folks in the room. Sergeant Angelo, our Cap Sergeant, welcome in the gorgeous dress blues. Thank you for being here.
We had our awards recognition ceremony
Yes.
down south today, so it's a great thing that they put out for all our officers. Very nice.
Congrats to all of the awardees, and thank you for being here. And also we're joined by Alderman Matt Martin. Thank you for being here and taking your time to be here. And many community representatives that we've had a chance to meet with recently or will soon. So thank you all for being here. As an update on the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability nominating process. Those of you who've been following this know that we've had some updates every month. I'm very pleased to report that after I and other representatives of the other 21 district councils nominated 15 highly qualified candidates to Mayor Johnson, he nominated or appointed 7 of those individuals to the city council. 6 of them have now been fully confirmed by the city council, I'm very proud to say, and they will be taking their spots as the first permanent Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. I say permanent, they are all term limited as individuals, but the commission as a body becomes permanent and no longer an interim commission. The folks that have been confirmed include the current interim president and vice president of the interim community commission, Anthony Driver Jr. and Ramel Terry, who are phenomenally talented individuals who helped lead the search for the next superintendent of Chicago Police Department, including Superintendent Snelling. Also confirmed were 2 attorneys with more than 10 years of experience, Kelly Presley, who is general counsel at Catholic Charities in Chicago and previously worked for the Illinois Department of Corrections, and Sandra Wortham, who is an attorney in private practice, has a very impactful personal experience of being a victim of the sister of a murder victim. Her brother was a police officer killed in the line of duty about 14 years ago. She also worked for the Chicago Police Department as an attorney in the Bureau of Patrol for 5 years, but not in the last 5 years, because you can't have worked for the police department in the last 5 years to serve on the commission. But she brings a wealth of experience to the role. Also appointed was Erin Gottlieb, who's a professor of social work at the University of Chicago, who both has deep academic credentials in public safety and policing practices and restorative practices, and was also an integral part of the organizing effort to create the law that created this body and the Community Commission. So I'm excited for his appointment. And Javier Minor is one of 2 youth nominees, 2 youth commissioners now. According to the ordinance, there need to be at least 2 individuals on the commission between the ages of 18 and 24 when they take office on the commission. Javier is a very talented young woman who has served as chief of staff for a state senator's office and currently works for a nonprofit radio show. Very excited that they are all going to be taking office in the next month as permanent commissioners. There is one remaining commissioner appointment that the mayor sent to the city council, Angel Ruby Navarrijo. who has been held in committee over some concerns that he currently works as a aldermanic staffer for 48th Ward Alderwoman Lenny Mana Hoppenworth. There have been some questions about how his time might be divided on the commission, how he would separate his duties working for an alderman and being an independent voice on the commission. I very strongly support his candidacy and hope that the Committee on Police and Fire will move his nomination forward and that the mayor continues to push it. I understand that he's worked with Alderwoman Mana Hoppenworth to create a work plan to ensure that there is a divide between his commission and aldermanic work. Also, the Board of Ethics has weighed in that there is no conflict whatsoever in city law on an ethical basis for him taking this position. And also, he would be one of our 2 youth candidates. And just as someone who vetted these nominees, he's a remarkably talented person for anyone, let alone someone who is not yet 25 years old. He's worked for 3 different aldermen in the city of Chicago. He's a DACA recipient, an undocumented individual, but DACA recipient, recent college graduate, has worked very closely with the police commander in the 20th Police District, just north of us, actually had a letter of recommendation to the nominating committee from the 20th Police District commander, and is a very thoughtful person. So I'm hoping that his nomination will go forward. And if you have any questions about that, please let me know. And please call your alderman to have them go through. I know, Alderman Martin, you're not on the Committee on Police and Fire, but if it comes to your desk, I hope you'll support. Sure, please.
I'm inundated with information, really, talk and complaining, good money, or, you know, simply not sure what the good sign. But I don't know what CCPSA stands for and what relationship that's going to be to COPA or the district council or whatever you call it.
Excellent question.
Can you repeat the question just for the?
I'll repeat the question just so everyone can hear. What is CCPSA? What's the relationship to CPD, COPA, district councils? It's a great question and one that I should have covered to begin with. I have been a bit of a broken record at these meetings about that acronym, so I forgot myself for a moment. The CCPSA is the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. It is a 7-member citywide body that is connected to district councils in a few ways, which I'll get into in a minute, but it has broad oversight powers over the Chicago Police Department, Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, and the Police Board. They can, as I mentioned earlier, the Community Commission is responsible for nominating those who can be superintendent of the Chicago Police Department when there's a vacancy, and the mayor must choose from nominees chosen by the commission. The commission also can set general policy for the police department or disapprove of policies that the police department wants to put in place. They can hold hearings. They set annual goals for the superintendent of the police department, the administrator of COPA, and the head of the president of the police board. They also can both hire and fire the head of COPA, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. Those are just some of the roles that they play, and they're connected to district councils in a few ways. One is that there is a committee of 1 member of each of the 22 district councils who nominates to the mayor people who can serve on the commission. So district councils are elected, commissioners are appointed, but no person can serve on the commission if they have not first been chosen by this committee of district council members by a supermajority vote. And then the district councils are really intended to be the eyes and ears on the ground because they are embedded in each of their districts to this citywide commission to deal with policing and public safety issues. That will take a number of forms, and it already has taken a few forms. We're working, I think, now to formalize the relationship between district councils and the commission, and also working to formalize the relationship between district councils and the commission and CPD. We've only been around for a year. We're thrilled to have been around for a year, but that's what it is so far. Is that an okay overview? Sure. Next, if people are interested in long government reports, I've got news for you. The nominating committee that I served on worked for the last 9 months to create our process for nominating members of the commission. We were a brand new public body, had to learn how to work together, had to learn how to civilly disagree, how to resolve those disagreements, how to come to solutions and move forward. and finally, how to nominate candidates and what values we wanted to be embodied in the next commission. It was a long process. I was thrilled to be a part of it. I served as one of 4 liaisons to regional working groups and sort of met weekly to daily for a long period of time to get this process off the ground. We've put out a 50+ page report with a 30-page index, if you're really interested in that. That goes through all of the process that we went through, the rules of order that we created that are designed to reach consensus, the rubric that we came up with for candidates, the application questions, how we evaluated those questions, how we did interviews. I welcome any feedback you have. We were building that plane as it was taking off, as we've been doing with the district council. So the report is designed to put down on paper what we already did, knowing that it will need to be improved going forward. And so we welcome your feedback, and I'm happy to have a further conversation with anyone who's interested in that.
And just a quick website plug to please visit our website, 19thdistrictcouncil.com. We have more information about how district councils relate to CCPSA and CPD. So please take a look when you get a chance. Each of these cards are more resources and information for you, and we plan to update them as often as we receive new information. So please keep checking back to our website.
The website also has a spot that's like one of the subpages, but on the main page, you can sign up for our newsletter, which if you are not receiving our newsletter, we highly encourage you all to sign up because we give lots of valuable information on that newsletter. We don't send out a ton of emails. It's usually just 2 a month, just to fill people in on what the meeting was about and kind of, and then remind them later about the upcoming meeting. The next thing we want to share are the many meetings and community engagement opportunities that we have engaged in over the course of since the last meeting. We've met with a number of people in the community as well as community leaders, university professors. We do a lot, as Sam was saying, the CCPSA and the work that we're doing is very much a brand new thing, and we're flying the plane as we are building it. So there's a lot of meetings and thinking about what we can do to make sure that this is is meeting the intention of what the ordinance was and how we can best do that as a team. So here are some of the things that we've done. Obviously, want to plug, we are always more than happy to meet with individuals in the community. Our email address is down there. Please reach out to us at 19thdistrictcouncil@gmail.com. We're happy to attend an event of yours and speak more about district council. We're happy to sit down one-on-one or small group and listen to any safety concerns you may have.
I just wanted to call out one, which is the Temple Shalom Community Engagement event that we did with our very own Sid and Cookie from the Temple Shalom Advocacy Committee, who hosted us. We held a public meeting that anyone could have come to if they wanted. It was well attended from the Temple Shalom community. We're happy to do that for other community groups, give an overview of what the district council is, what we've been doing over the past several months, what our plans are going forward, take input from the community, and thank you very much for hosting us.
Thank you. All right, and speaking of community groups, one of the things that we really want to do is make sure we're hearing more from our community groups. As we mentioned at the beginning of this, we know a strong community makes a safer community. So making sure that people know about what is happening in the community, making sure our community members know each other, which is why we're starting to put out name tags for people to just, know who each other are and say hi and ask people questions. If you're on if you're a part of a community group, please write that down on your name tag so people can identify you and ask you questions about that. We also want to give anyone an opportunity who's from a community group to introduce yourself, share very quickly about your community group, and maybe if there's anything coming up this summer or this next month that you have to share, we'd love to hear from you right now, if anyone has anything. Okay.
There was one.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that.
I've been to the 17th, I've been to the Elton Park, I've been to the 20th, north of here. I'm telling you, they're going very, very, a lot more give and take by other two. Some very, very good ideas and some not so. This is It really inundated me when I walked. I came about 5 minutes late, and I don't know where the hell I was going with this piece of paper in my hand, because I couldn't follow anything. But you clarified it somewhat, and I'd like to go back to the Hard Lincoln Square. We're a 500-member community organization, you know, mainly Lincoln Square, but what affects, what Matt's ward certainly affects a couple blocks away, even as far as Windmill Park, which I live nearby. But yes, definitely, yeah, my biggest complaint with the CAP and with COLA is that I sign my email and I never hear back when the meeting is gonna occur. This meeting, I learned through Matt's weekly newsletter, which is on a Friday. I don't get sometimes until Saturday. But today's a Wednesday, I've got to jiggle my schedule. So that's my major complaint with all the meetings that are going on. I think that's about.
Yeah. You can find out our meetings as well as CAP's meetings all on our website, so feel free to check out that resource. Yeah. Anyone else have an event or part of a neighborhood group that they would like to share about?
Hi, I'm Jackie Baldwin, and I'm here from the Jewish Council on Urban Affairs. We are part of the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability Coalition, which was part of what brought you ECPS. So thank you all for coming out. But I just want to say that you can visit our website as well. We also list links, so, and we do teach-ins. So if you'd like to learn more about how the ordinance came about, what's in it, and you have an organization, we support the 19th and 14th district's work, and we're more than happy to come out and assist with the teach-in as well. So thank you all. jcua.org.
jcua.org. Anybody, any other community?
Hello, hi, I'm Maddie. I live here in Uptown, but I am also a member of the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, which is an offshoot of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. I'm a new member, but learned about actually through their partnership with our district councils, learned about this meeting. So that's why I've been coming to these now. They do a lot of really great work in the community, just working on reducing violent police crimes and acts. There is a weekly Monday meeting that is on Zooms from 6 to 8 p.m. If you're part of any organizations, don't have to be a Harper member to join. If you want that information, feel free to just come say hi to me. We are also hosting a lot of trainings currently on the police referendum that they're working to get on the ballot this fall. So to be working with aldermen and on that, and just to do teachings about the referendum. I've been to several of them. They're an hour long on Zoom, really easy to do. So if you want any of that information, you can just go, I think it's just harper.org, CAARPR.org. But also feel free to just come talk to me after the meeting. Oh, that's I have been to the training, but I'm not as familiar with it as others. So there might be other people in the room who know a little bit more, but it's essentially yeah, sure.
Basically, change the way that the commission is elected to become a directly elected body of, I believe, 11 people. And it would also expand some of the powers of the commission. But the referendum is kind of really a separate piece right now, and it has to go on the ballot. So it does not, the referendum work does not alter like what we're doing.
Any other community groups of things that are happening in the neighborhood? Good, because I have one that I want to share on the next slide. I'm part of the community advocacy group, and with the district council and Pathways for Peace at St. Ben's, we are holding a very fun, free Juneteenth event. Alderman Martin has also helped support it. And it's just gonna be a fun day. We're gonna have Jesse White tumblers, there will be horseback riding and roller skaters and just some Black vendors that are in the neighborhood and local that will be just a fun way to celebrate the day. It's actually not on Juneteenth though, it's on June 15th, this that Saturday before at St. Ben's. Courtyard.
Horseback riding for people to do, or they will be people?
Yeah, you can
ride
horseback, yep.
by you?
All right, so we want to leave this last 40-ish minutes to discuss, like I mentioned, what I mentioned at the very beginning of the meeting. We're going to dive into our community partnership plan. And if you are new today, one of the things that we've heard from community members is that we need to focus more on short-term or immediate needs voiced by the community. If you've been to one of our meetings before, you can already know that we focus on root cause issues or longer term issues such as pretextual traffic stops, community violence interruption programs, things that we really feel are core to forming a better public safety system. But we also heard from community members that things are needed in the immediate term. So what we did is create this community partnership plan. And as it was launched originally, our goal was together as a community, help to decrease robberies and other violent crimes that are occurring in the district. We wanted to talk to you about our conversations, our distillation of this information that we gained from you. And then we're also going to want to have a back and forth so we don't inundate you with information this entire meeting, but a back and forth with you. That is why you have these handouts today. We'll reference them here shortly. But what we wanted to do is let you know how we formed these first 43 action items for ourselves. So as we've mentioned before, we wanted to share the community engagement plan with this District 19th command staff. We were able to have a great productive first meeting. We're looking to have a follow-up meeting with the command staff soon. Unfortunately, the commander has been out for the last few weeks due to an injury, so scheduling has been a little bit more difficult for us. But as soon as the commander's back, we're looking to schedule that with him immediately. We also engage with community members to solicit your ideas. We want to bring back these ideas to CPD to get an alignment on how we can achieve these together. We recognize that there may be some goals that may not be focused with police, and instead that's our focus. And if there's a police focus, we can find the best way for our CPD staff to help address these issues in the community. And what we're here to do today is step number 4 is present our goals to you, the community, so that we can get your feedback and understand if we've appropriately captured your concerns or ideas. And then one thing that we're going to do on a monthly basis is talk to you about our progress, holding ourselves accountable and making sure that we're making progress on these goals that we've laid out. And if we haven't been able to make progress, let you know why, what the roadblocks or barriers have been. So just quick overview of what has transpired over the last 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. We've had over 20 conversations to gather input from you, the community. We've heard over 50 specific community member concerns and ideas, and we've touched on 18 public safety topics overall. We'll get into what the topics are here in a second. And what you hold right now is a full list of the first prioritized, focused 43 action items for us as police district counselors to take on. So we have a short-term track, as well as our monthly meetings where we'll cover more longer-term issues as well. As always, all information presented today is housed on our website and will be presented on our website. So if you want to see anything that's on this presentation, or if you want to see a live look at the goals that you have in front of you, there's going to be a link included, and I'll hit on that towards the end of this discussion. But first, we wanted to highlight the different topics that were discussed. These are not mutually exclusive. They may blend together, but we heard a lot from community members. Things about collaboration between district councils, increased visibility and surveillance, increased use of technology, getting to know your neighbors a little bit more, so that creates more of a sense of safety or creates more safe communities in general. Building more police visibility to build community trust. That's a big one that we heard as well. So we had all these different types of topics. We had specific ideas, and what we did was we spent hours upon hours organizing and distilling these into actual action items for us to take and put ourselves in a place to be held accountable. The 5 areas, the thing that we realized is that we wanted to hone in on a more finessed, concrete goals for ourselves. And so we wanted to refine this goal of the community partnership plan to be more seen as together as a community, create concrete steps to help the district be and feel safer, right? We really want to focus on that concrete steps but also that together piece, because ultimately we wanted to hear directly from you. So first off, thank you for participating. And second, thank you for being here to hear what we have to present. So what you have in front of you in your sheet is 43 action items that are essentially housed in these 5 orange boxes. The first one that we'll hit on is CPP accountability and transparency. We'll also holding bad actors accountable and preventing future harm, increasing feelings of safety in the community, knowing your neighbors, create safer neighborhoods, and then police visibility to build community trust. So these are the areas in which we'll focus on today. As I mentioned, we created 43 action items. One thing that we did want to note is that we're not done formalizing this plan. As you can see, there is no timelines or deadlines on these. That is something that we want to do. We didn't want to say we're going to complete all these 43 items by next monthly meeting. That would be unrealistic, right? So we want to prioritize these further and then understand how we allocate them across the 3 of us, and even get you involved if you're willing and interested. Anything else that you guys? I think we have a question back. Yeah, let me bring you the mic. Yeah, we'll get into the specifics of each in here in just a second. We're gonna dive into each of these color codes, so please save that question for when we get to the red section, and then we can discuss exactly what restorative justice court is.
That's it. There's one thing. Just process-wise, as Marilio pointed out, this was the result of conversations that folks signed up for, that representatives of chambers of commerce, of neighborhood associations did with us. And it also is informed by the feedback that we've gotten from the community over the last year. We're just 3 people. We took it and tried to distill it into something that was manageable and legible. So it might not be, it's not a scientific process, but that's why we wanted to present the progress that we've made so far in distilling all that information, to see what you think we've gotten right, what resonates with you, what you think we might have missed, and just get any feedback that you might have. So we'll continue to refine and finalize these.
So what we're gonna do is kind of go through each section, each color one at a time, and really I'll quickly share like what's on the screen, but also encourage you guys to read through what the section says. And then we want you guys to have an opportunity to provide feedback on each of the, I think there's 5 different colors, and 5 different public safety topics. So the first public safety topic was knowing your neighbors creates a safer community. That's something we heard a lot. So we were trying to think of one community idea we heard was increasing interaction with Black clubs and neighborhood groups. One of the things that the action items that we're committing to is hosting a meeting for interested leaders of neighborhood associations and Black clubs to work, to network, collaborate, and share ideas, just to make sure people know each other again in the community. That creates stronger, safer communities. Also have opportunities for community group members to introduce themselves like we did at this meeting today. We really want people to know each other. We really want to make sure people feel a sense of community even at these meetings. And then collect and provide information on the 19th district neighborhood associations that are in the district, and make sure that's up on our website so people can easily find out information on those. So I'm gonna give you a second to, I guess this one only has one more, but if you want to read it quickly, if anyone has any thoughts or concerns or those are some guiding questions you're free to use to share your concerns or questions.
Any thoughts on the green?
And we're planning to do this with each of the categories on your sheet. So trying to give you, the green one's an easy one because there's only 4. But give you, and not all of, to be very clear, not all of the goals are on the slides there because it was too many. But wanted to just get any initial feedback you had using some of these guiding questions. And we'll do it each in turn. So how do these capture a concern that you share? Are there concerns that you have that are not addressed under this broad category? How do you feel this will help in making our community be and feel safer. And if you have any other ideas to present, we'll just take notes and feedback.
And of course. Sure, oh boy.
Mine is about helping the community feel safer. And the only comment I have is that I cannot imagine how safe everybody feels in this community when they're out walking with earbuds in their ears so loud that when I say hello to them, which I do every morning when I walk my dog all around these streets, they can't hear me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you fix it, but
I was gonna ask.
are at risk.
Okay. Thank you.
And of course, if you have ideas or something comes to you after this meeting, again, you could always email us and provide your comments that way.
And just last comment on that, these are also starting goals. We know that we'll see later on, we are planning on meeting these goals, cross them out, working toward the next step of the goal.
All right, moving on to our next category, hearing none others on the last one, is a broad category of police visibility to build community trust. The broad issue here that we heard from folks is they want to see officers on the beat. They want to know the officers that are working in the 19th Police District. They want a broader sense of resources to feel safe. Some of these include, and some of the goals that you'll see include non-police resources. So some of it is visibility also of mental health crisis workers that Jenny talked about earlier in this meeting, or creating or understanding what entities in the city or the state can be called upon to deal with things that might be better handled by other types of professionals and taken off of the plate of the police. So some of these that I'll go through, and some of these are also in the 19th District Strategic Plan that the district published at the end of last year for 2024. These include things like holding outdoor roll calls, increasing foot patrol, and we want to talk with the police department here to see how the progress is toward those goals and what we can do to make sure that they're more spread out through the community and more visible. So take a few minutes. Another one that I just wanted to discuss, it's up here on the board, is expanding public safety entities that can respond to emergency calls for service. Part of this is expanding civilian workers at the police department. We know that there were 400 new positions budgeted in this year's budget, but hiring has been very slow on that. So we want to continue to update the community on progress for that. The idea behind that is allowing civilians to handle more administrative tasks so that sworn officers can be out on the beats. Others are making the mental health resources that Jenny talked about earlier, those palm cards, more available both to community members and to beat officers. We'd like to distribute those to every officer in the 19th Police District. And also identify places where we might be able to reduce calls for service on police that could be better handled by other agencies. I'm talking like parking tickets, dogs off leash, things like this. So take a minute and we welcome your feedback.
This may be a really dumb question. I think I can speak loud enough. What is the purpose of an outdoor roll call? And does that mean that an outdoor roll call is only valuable if people in the community show up for the roll call?
It's a good question. And outdoor roll calls is something that are done periodically by the 19th Police District and other districts. They're often announced by aldermen's offices. It's in the 19th District Strategic Plan to have these. Roll calls happen 3 times a day at the police department. It's a mandatory 20 or so minute meeting where officers come, they take the roll, they get the assignments for the day, understand the trends. Doing it outdoors is a way of just showing that the police are part of the community and in the community. And doing it outdoors is designed to be more visible. I think it will only be as useful as people want to make it. So if they want to come and see it, it's something that we've heard from folks and is something that was in the 19th District Strategic Plan. So we wanted to see how we could more incorporate it broader into the district.
Hi, Lily, quick question about, if in your feedback, you got anything from folks for whom seeing more police might be more traumatizing? and how you balance that with the need for more visibility, but also recognizing that more presence of police officers can be harmful for certain communities. And also what that looks like, for example, for new arrivals who are in Chicago and what that might feel like for them. I'm just curious if you collected any of that feedback.
Yeah, I have certainly heard that from folks, not necessarily in our district as much, but I know that that exists in all parts of our community. We want to create a comfortable space, both with officers, and if someone is uncomfortable in the presence of an officer, that's, I think, kind of what we see our role as too. We are regular Joes and Janes. We are elected to this position. We can be that conduit between the community and the police. So we want to be that resource as well, and just respect when folks are feeling that kind of discomfort. Another thing that we want to do though is demystify who police officers are. And one of the proposals that I'm hoping to move forward is allowing more opportunities for individual beat officers just to introduce themselves. Like, what's their favorite Chicago sports team? What neighborhood do they live in? This is smaller stuff, and doesn't necessarily undo, particularly if folks have specific experiences that bring up that trauma, but can hopefully increase those connections. And we want to approach that sensitively. And we always want to be a space as a council where if folks have those concerns, they can come to us, and we can be that conduit.
Can I add to that? And just one other thing to add to that is really thinking carefully about what are the jobs that we want police officers to be handling versus what are the other types of responders that who could be responding to other types of calls, so that we make sure that the tools that are coming to the call are the tools that are best used to address the crisis again.
I think we have no more comment.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm asking specifically more about the foot patrols, even though the answer to my question might not be foot patrols. So I live very south end of the 19th district here on Fullerton. And so the most often times that I see police officers are speeding down Fullerton to get somewhere else. And that's not a criticism of using a major street as a major street. It's that the only time that I see a police car is when it's going fast or it's sitting in the intersection outside my house, waiting to go through that intersection. And so my concern here, or this is more the general question, is how do you plan to, or what plans are existing to get officers, not just out of cars, because it's not just, oh, we take them out of a car and suddenly that creates community, but that also takes them away from moving more quickly. So it's a balancing act. But what plans are in action to get them not just sitting in their cars all the time, because that's all I ever see them. And I don't have any other interactions with the police in my neighborhood because all they are is in cars driving quickly by. Thank you.
I totally agree with you. We don't see it enough. And I don't know what plans are in place right now currently. One thing I do want to clarify about these goals that we've distilled, these are things that we've come to from the community. We plan to and will discuss them with the police leadership here in the 19th Police District. We don't know what's possible. We also don't know what the constraints are. We know what some of the constraints are. There's a workforce challenge we've been advocating for and are moving towards a workforce allocation study that will try to understand what officers are spending each of their days doing in the minute to minute time, and what we can do to move towards a work structure that would allow them to do more foot patrols, have more interactions in the community, and not be tied to their cars at all times. Right now, my understanding is most beat officers for their entire shift are tethered to their cars and responding to calls for service. And that's sort of, they're prioritized, but that's the entire thing. And there's reluctance also to get out of the car because a call for service might come in and you might have to respond to it very quickly. So what can we do to reduce that? I don't have an answer for you right now, but it's one that we want to get from the district commander and from broader CPD. It's also, this is another thing that is in the strategic plan that the 19th Police District itself put out this year. And we want to see how they're working to implement that and how we can make it more visible.
Log voice, a
Okay,
former
yeah.
teacher. I just looked on the Chicago Police Department website on their job openings. And there are only 85 positions open. So these 400 civilians to go in and do something, it doesn't seem to even be posted. Are they not decided how they want to use civilians yet?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So all hiring goes through the Department of Human Resources through the city, and from my understanding, for both good and frustrating reasons, it takes a very long time to go through that process. The department is also only allowed to post 5 to 6 different titles per month that on the website. So, and that's, I think that's to make it easier for people to find. I don't know the answer behind that. But I had a conversation with Mike Milstein, who is in the Department of Community Policing in the police department, to kind of figure out where we were on that. And so he said they're really prioritizing the areas where they most meet the civilians, as well as the job titles where the greatest number of positions are being filled. So for example, victim advocate is one of like the job titles that has a larger number of positions that they're looking to hire. So that's how they're prioritizing. Okay, he told me it would be. Yeah, so that, I know that is a frustration, and it does take, they said I think they start the process, they start posting around February, and it takes a couple months to start hiring, so that is why it's slow. We've been told it is something that, you know, we are going to continue to put pressure and to understand where, like.
Okay,
where
it's
the-
personal.
Yeah,
I'm a data specialist.
yeah,
And I'm sure there's a lot of data entry that is being done by badged officers that somebody like me could do.
right. In the Chicago Police Department, we have about 5% of the department is civilians, compared to other like peer cities with about a 20% civilianization rate. So that's one thing that I know we're definitely interested in looking to think about how we can expand to make sure we have civilians doing work that civilians could fulfill.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get to 2 more comments. Just wanted to connect a few dots here. So a lot of the things that you'll see are gonna be repeated from things that you've heard us say before. We're talking about 400 civilian positions being open and needed to be filled. We're talking about wanting our police officers to be out on the street, not in their cars as much. We're wanting to have more interactions when they're doing roll calls outside. All of these goals are connected by the fact that we want our police to be focused most on serious and violent crime, and we're trying to find other ways to really make that happen. So I just wanted to point out that a lot of these goals have that overarching vision that we have been working on, I think, since our taking office. And so I just wanted to connect the dots there. And then we had 2 more comments.
I was just gonna, in Dave's, point, I just wanted to comment that in the past, I mean, years ago, I had very nice interactions downtown, in the neighborhood, on the beachfront with bike paths. And they tend to make themselves more accessible. And I assume that there's probably, very understaffed. Now I've only seen them at, you know, DePaul with the protesters or big issues at the lakefront. So I don't know how they're deployed, what their role is, but to me that, and I know there are people who particularly are helping and want to do that, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like that's one way that people, I mean, they're still on their walkie-talkies and yet they can say hello, they seem accessible, because they're kind of at your height and they're out there. So, I mean, that's just, to me, a possible solution if there were staff.
That's a really great comment, and I've written that down. It's also something that I've heard, particularly from entertainment officers in the 19th district. We've got some of the most busiest entertainment districts in the whole city, around Ridley Field, around Halsted, a lot of events all summer. And officers on bicycles kind of are able to straddle that line between being accessible. They're also very nimble because bikes often get places faster than cars. So that's a really great idea and one that we can take back.
It's also, just real quick, it's also something that we saw in the CPD strategic plan. Bike patrolling officers are also something that want to be implemented and have been heard through community conversations as it's in the part of the strategic plan. So it's another thing that we will keep an eye on to hopefully make progress.
I can talk about it.
Okay.
Just to tag on to her
There's
question,
one comment here first.
just to tag on to her question about the civilians, is there a way that we can, that you can get some kind of timeline from them to figure out when the 19th district would see X number of positions, civilian positions?
I can certainly ask. When I asked before, the timeline was, it's gonna take a while. But I can see if I can get a more concrete, type of, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because we should know as a community, how many civilians, even the 19th district would need to support them, to be patrolling more.
Yeah, and that's something that we also hope the workforce allocation study will give us more indication as to like where the numbers are and where we can fill those.
So one more comment and then we'll need to move on to the next.
We'll be young fans here. I went to the brunch.
I don't know. I mean, you can work about that.
Brunch lunch meeting where Superintendent Snelling addressed about 120 people for lunch afterwards, of course. And he said that he was 2,000 patrol people needed. He was 2,000 less than what he needed. And I heard him say that again since then. But back in February, he was very, very emphatic. So I don't know how you can ask patrol people to walk around one at a time if you're that short-handed. Maybe when the hiring picks up, if they have the budget.
Thanks for the comment. I'll walk it back here, but just real quick on that, this is why we focus so much on the workforce allocation study. We've done a whole presentation line that's on our website. And first of all, we're just about back at where we were in 2017 in the level of officers. It raised very high to a peak in about 2019, and there was a wave of retirements. So it's creeped back up, but we don't have a really good sense of how our officers are spending their time day to day, how the department is structured, and if it could be more efficient than it is now. So that's why we're excited for this workforce allocation study to really understand how many officers we really do need to cover our city. One thing that we do know is that Chicago has more officers per capita than any of our sister cities like New York, LA, Houston, and still worse crime outcomes. So we want to see sort of what the difference is there and what we might be able to do that our sister cities have been able to figure out.
Sam, what's the timeline on the workforce allocation study?
In the next year, I think.
Yeah, there'll be quarterly updates that we will make sure that people are aware of but the great thing about the workforce allocation study is that it's not like a one and done thing. It's something that will continue to be able to inform staffing decisions in the department. So we're going to move to the next two sections just for the name of time, because this meeting does end at 8 o'clock, and we also need to make sure we have time for public comment and the end of the meeting, although we appreciate all the current public comment we're getting right now. The purple goal is really to keep us accountable to making sure that we go back to the CPP, our plan, and make sure that we share our updates, make sure we continue to look at it and also update the goals that we're working on as we're reaching them. And making sure it's available to the public. And then the next section is, we hear a lot about this feeling of safety in the neighborhood and working with community and working to implement strategies to help people feel more safe in our community, because obviously there's actual threats of crime and feelings of crime, and no matter what, if you're feeling unsafe in a community, that's going to affect how you interact in the community. So making sure that we're working to help people feel more safe through a variety of different things, which are outlined in the community ideas and concerns. One of the things that I want to really highlight is increased camera coverage in the 19th district, making sure that people's cameras are registered to the department The way that works is, that way they know who has a camera, they're not tapped into your camera all the time, because that would be weird, but they can, if something happened on your block, they know you have a camera there and are able to contact you to get the footage. Also making sure we have more pod cameras in the district. I know that recently I was at a CAPS meeting and they talked about how they were able to, apprehend, someone who had just committed a crime because they were able to use the cameras to follow the person and get him, I believe, on the CTA. So if you want to take a minute to look over some of those, two sections. And I'll start with feedback. Nothing?
Thank you. I don't think this is going to be an issue, but Illinois has a very strict biometric protection law. Is this camera program in any way running up against recording and storing people's biometric information without their permission? Is there law enforcement exceptions to the biometric protection law, and is that allowable when essentially contacting other people's home cameras? Thank you.
So that's a great question, and I think one of the things that's something we could look into. I think one of the reasons why we're coming up with these goals and what our intention is to report back to the community what we're finding. So if we have this goal and we find out that it's not a possibility because of what you're saying, we can then report back to the community and let them know what we're hearing. We're not saying that we're able to accomplish every single goal on here, but what we're doing is reporting to we're hearing all these things that they're requests from the community. We're offering ways to get there, and we'll be able to share how we can make it happen or why it isn't happening, and then work for the next solution from there, if that makes sense.
I'd just like to say that I moved from the suburbs where I didn't feel very safe to this neighborhood where I feel very safe. And maybe I'm in a minority. Maybe it's because I have gray hair and I really don't care much anymore. Yeah. Place, I drive all over this place. I'm out during the day, I'm out during the night. And I understand there are lots of people who say to me, and lots of people that I know who say to me, I never go out at night anymore, and I always keep my doors locked, and I have a very large dog and all kinds of stuff. But if people don't go out, if they don't act and interact with each other, if they don't talk, then we'll never be safe. And it doesn't make any difference where we live.
Thank you. That's an important point.
That brings us also back to our first category, the green one, knowing your neighbors creates safer neighborhoods.
And move on. Yeah, I know we had some questions on this one specifically.
We'll move to the last overarching category. It's the brick red on the back, or only red, I suppose. Accountability for those who have committed crimes or done harm and preventing future harm. So this one is, we heard it a lot from community members when we had our conversations. I do want to say, like, our purview as district council members under the ordinance is really with the police department. So we don't have any sort of official capacity with the state's attorney's office or with the court system. But we do want to be a vehicle to get information out to the community about other parts of our justice system and also expand what our justice system looks like. So some of these that are called out on the slide here are helping the community learn about and grow restorative justice courts. There was a question earlier about what that means. Yes, it's a great question. Restorative justice is a process of having a perpetrator and a victim sit together, having the victim express how they were harmed and why they were harmed and frankly how it made them feel or what impact it had on their life. Having the perpetrator take accountability for that and then working towards an agreement that can prevent that harm in the future and also try to repair that harm. It can be pretty creative. It can be, one of them, let me pass it to Jenny if you don't mind, because you've actually seen a restorative justice court run through the Cook County courts.
Yeah, so the way that the Cook County courts do their restorative justice is the offender has they have a plan, I can't remember the exact name of the plan, where they address, number one, the harm that they caused, and then they talk about how they can make sure that they don't go back and reoffend, and also make sure that the community feels safe from, is able to repair the harm that they did cause in the community. They come up with this whole plan with a team of people who are there to really support them through it. And then they're held accountable by monthly meetings or however often the judge wants to see them back to see how they are doing towards meeting the goals of their restorative justice plan. It's really, really a beautiful thing because these people who oftentimes don't even get a first chance at, really being able to give and participate in society in a meaningful way, are given a chance to, so for example, one of the people that was there when I was there, and I'm happy to bring people with me, it's open, it's a court system, so it's open to the public. They just ask because they don't typically get public to give them a heads up so they can have seating for them. I'm happy to take you if you want to go, reach out to me. There we go. But they said, so a man one of his goals was to get his GED to make sure that that was one of his steps to making sure he doesn't reoffend. And they said, oh, I saw that you just took your GED this month, great job. I see you passed your math, but you weren't able to pass your English quite yet. Can I get you a tutor? And then they talked about how maybe, about that and making sure that that person was really supported throughout the process. Another common problem that some of the individuals had was having a job, but not having a way to get to their job. So making sure they had bus passes and things like that in order to really be successful at meeting their plan. One of the things about restorative justice courts that sometimes people say is that, oh, we're letting these people off. Really, it is quite the opposite. These people are working very, very hard to meet the set of goals that has been agreed upon through a restorative conversation with the community to not reoffend. And the success rates of these courts has been quite impressive. There was a report out, it was a couple weeks ago, month ago, about the success of the courts, and we can share that with people.
Okay. What kinds of crimes I assume these people were arrested. What kinds of crimes did they commit?
Yeah. They had to be nonviolent crimes. A lot of them involve gun possession, but a lot of things like people having guns that didn't have the proper registration or just all the proper paperwork that's needed in order to legally carry a gun. That was what a lot of the cases were surrounding, although they really in the courts don't share too much about the individual particular cases because just not to breach the confidentiality there. And to make sure that person has respect and dignity around what they're doing. When you look at the numbers, it's a lot of low-level gun offenses that don't involve violently using the gun, but possession. It's very, very cool.
Hi, I see here you have about raising awareness programs that support at-risk youth. And not sure if this would fall under your purview or maybe the alderman's purview, or it maybe has to be a CBO, but I used to live in Aurora, and one of the things that we saw there was that the city was spending $77 million on the police department and $500,000 on youth services. So that disparity was really alarming. And when we were talking to police, a lot of the younger police who were interacting with youth a lot were like, oh, you know, if these youth had somewhere to go and had more supervision and more opportunities, like my job would be easier. But yet the city didn't make the investment in those services. So I'm just curious, are you able to look at the city budget and let us know what the city level funding is for CPD, and then what the funding levels are for these programs? Maybe for the past few years, just to get a comparison of how the funding is going. And maybe, I don't know if the city would ever be able to put out guidance that's based on research for folks who are trying to start new programs about what makes a successful intervention. So is it that you need parent buy-in? Is it that you need to be mindful of parents who work 2 jobs? Is it that you need to be, you know, how do you overcome that? I'm sure there's research and evidence that suggests like how to make sure that you're implementing successful interventions. And just so that we have that for guidance for folks who are well-intentioned, but may not be sure of where to start these programs or initiatives. So that might be something that the city would consider too.
That's a great comment. Thank you very much. I don't have an answer for you right now, but it is something that we can look into. We really wanted to put that on our list because we frankly have not focused much on these programs yet so far in our year in office. So we want to look into that more. One thing I do know is that the Department of Family and Support Services includes a lot of youth programs. There's quite a lot of funding in Chicago. I do not have numbers for you. And there's also like the Youth Jobs Corps. There's often pushes to expand that. So there's a lot going on, but we can look into it more. It's a great question. Any others on these? One that I just wanted to point out, as you'll see on your sheet, it's not on the slide, is we heard from the community, increase arrest rates. We cannot do that as a district council, but it has led us to, you know, want a goal of meeting with Area 3 detectives to understand their process for investigating cases, for apprehensions, for understanding arrest rates, understanding, you know, where folks are being apprehended and where they aren't. And getting out to the public more resources about how the detectives work, which I have more myself to learn about. So that's just what I wanted to highlight. Any other thoughts?
So thank you, everybody, for your comments, your ideas, your concerns, not only tonight, but throughout the past several weeks to form this plan. I did want to mention, I'm sorry that the headline is blocked there, but you can find this full list on our website. If you access this presentation on our website, it'll take you directly to the list. There are 2 tabs of in terms of the spreadsheet. The first tab that is highlighted here is this that you're holding in your hand. This will be continued to be updated by us as we make progress. There will be more columns added so you can understand exactly where we stand with each goal. But in the second tab that you can hardly ever even see, but it's the original notes that we took and where these came from. So one of the things that we want to do is be transparent. So we wanted to provide you with with the original notes, not necessarily quotes that we took verbatim from any community members, but essentially where these things started. So we want the process and the breadcrumbs to be there so that any other community member understands where we ended up. Again, this is on our website, and we'll be linking to it on our next newsletter as well. One question?
I'm just curious if, this looks like a tremendous amount of synthesis and work, I think with only 43. Are you sharing that with other district councils? Because this seems to me like kind of a best, you know, best practices step that I think other districts may also be doing wonderful things, but could probably benefit from all the organization thought you've already put in.
Yeah, I will speak to the process and structure. I know we took a large amount of inspiration from the neighborhood policing initiative, and we had a speaker come and talk to us about that. And that's where the structure and overall idea, I think, was one of the areas in which we thought about. In terms of these specific goals, yeah, we have quarterly and annual meetings to share out these ideas, these concerns that are relevant to our district. But again, we don't put walls up against on our district. It affects everybody, whether they're within it or a couple blocks outside, right? So we will be looking to share these ideas and this process and this structure beyond just our district.
Yeah, I mean, we're always happy to share what we do with other districts. Everyone is kind of working in their own, you know, with their we are very lucky at our district where we have, lots of resources to work with and have lots of people who are willing to support and come out. And it's different across the city as it is in many other, as it is with everything in the city, right? But we are always willing to be able to share and support other district councils with what we're doing. Adults, they're over 18.
All right, so we're gonna move to the public comment portion. Is anybody interested in making a public comment tonight? I know we've had a lot of question and answer, but this is your opportunity to make a formal public comment. Going once? Going twice? All right, we'll move on.
You know, just use your.
I know, it's okay. This is not a new timer. It's still the flowers, so I'm not upset. I did look for a summary one, but I didn't want to jinx it. And look, today is 61 degrees, so. All right, so we want to announce our next meeting. It's going to be June 26th, which is a Wednesday. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Please note that if you looked at our schedule before, this is a new date, just to align with our planning and our logistics for that meeting. So again, Wednesday, June 26th. 6:30 p.m. at Third Space, which is at 716 West Addison. And now we're gonna go to.
And so usually this meeting was on a Saturday. We wanted to have a couple of Saturday meetings in throughout the year as a way to engage more people, as well as we were really hoping that these would be like focused on community conversations. I don't know if anyone was at our last Saturday meeting, which was probably 6 months or so ago.
Summer, I think.
But so we are going to carry over that format, and it'll just be during the week because that's when our facilitator was able to do it, and we want to make sure we work around their schedule. It is going to be talking and thinking about race and policing and how those two kind of go together and how one informs the other. And really, I'm hoping it's more of like an introspection for each one of us who attends to think about how that and what our relationship with that looks like. Okay, action items for today. Sign up to help pass out mental health those mental health palm cards. That'd be awesome. The QR code was up before. It also will be on our newsletter as well as on our action page, our take action page on the website. So please do that. Also feel free to reach out to us and give us any other information or any other feedback, you have on our community partnership plan. This is ongoing, as we said, and we want to continue to hear from you guys. Keep coming to our meetings. We want to see the meetings continue to grow and be full, and bring a friend. The more people that are engaged in this work, the more effective we can be. And then the last thing we just wanted to plug was the website for the city of Chicago to register your camera that we mentioned. This will all, I know you're not going to be able to click on a website right now, but this is all on our Take Action page on our website. It's also our whole entire slide deck will be on our website as well. So you can access this a number of different ways.
And with that, we'll call the meeting. Thanks everybody for coming out.
Thank you.
Unofficial attendance, I would hit around 47 people. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Quickly, I want to just comment. We're meeting last Wednesday night.
I didn't get a chance to, yeah, I was like, so.
No.
He would get some people from the company here tonight.
Yeah.
Of course. Mine is from the building. My building is from the temple.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Just making my.
I would have a question, about the police in general. And I didn't know where I could go, like, how come you know, not usually take this, and police work and,
Anytime you think of
input between these councils as far as, union and, police department, relations agreements. I mean,
If you email me, I can try and get the answer.
okay,
One of our goals actually is to establish a point of contact within the community.
okay.
Because they're obviously a powerful force, I will be very like open and say, absolutely, Marx is not right.
It's a lot less stressful and anxiety inducing for sure.
Okay, and your email is on your website. Okay, I'll pop you.
No, I mean, more mental health,
It's something in the back of the room over there.
I've been trying to do. They want.
I do not. Jennifer got sick.
Now, my questions are, they're very different from your major focus.
How are you? Good.
Y'all are, I guess, and then the third, I have a third question about the different levels of organization. And that's probably on the website also.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. I know this is an incredible number of hours. And, thank you. I mean, it's,
I'll send you an email, maybe it's
What's
long
your
and
day job?
meandering because it may be like some stream of consciousness.
okay.
I'm very, very interested in finding a shift in that area.
Yeah, no.
What's going on, I'd like to know.
So, I mean, that's one of the.
And there's a number of these things that apply to.
Great.
Just gonna make that point. So.
Well, thanks. I'll send you.
Oh, okay.
But you also want to put things in context, what they're seeing is successful. So there's a lot of ways to think about it. We just need to figure out.
Yeah.
Great seeing you guys.
Yeah, great to see you.
Doing fine, how you doing? You're on first step.
Yeah, we had our award ceremony downtown Hyatt today for all the guys and gals that, no, I did not get them for like life saving and all that. Stuff. All the upper echelon. Great stories down there from wonderful police work and life saving that went all those. Very good. Bill Curtis, I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty
He
great.
does a great job.
How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
We're going to give a report to Shay Larry
Okay,
on everything that happened.
awesome.
We're keeping everything up to date.
Okay,
And
appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll send you an email. And I've already, I don't know if you, with, the USA Crime Lab, I know, I think I had a call with her. We were talking about some things, I'm just. I've got
Not yet.
a big background in skill and data analytics and reporting and.
So that's one of the things, you saw Form 43 was.
I mean, we're doing.
Okay, maybe.
Kind of like, you know, the first one back in the day.
I got it.